All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes. I am your host, Marcus. This is week 19. We've been at this for 19 weeks now. Thank you for sticking along here with me. I appreciate you. And next week is going to be a very special episode as well. I didn't think I'd make it this far. Thank you for coming along for this ride with me, but let's get right into it. So, with draft day right around the corner being this coming Thursday, it's pretty important that I go ahead and give you the quick update. So, we're going to start with Washington. So, coming out of Washington, we're going to be swapping late round picks with the Miami Dolphins and reacquiring offensive lineman Eric Flowers. Now, this is interesting because we needed to upgrade our line, and there's a good chance that Sadiq Charles might be ready to play. But just in case he isn't, Sadiq Charles being our lineman picked in last year's draft, I believe in the second or third round from LSU, he didn't play at all last year. So we're reacquiring Eric Flowers. Interestingly enough, we're doing this while saving money because he's due $9 million this year. So we're only paying $3 million, and Miami will be paying $6 million. So that's all guaranteed money for him. He doesn't care where it comes from, as long as he gets it. And he's going to play some outstanding football. Can't wait to have him back here in Washington. So that being very important, here's something else very important. Last week I talked about something very important for teams with young quarterbacks. It is important to protect your assets. I said this about the Cincinnati Bengals. They'd be crazy to not take Penei Sewell with the 5th pick to protect Joe Burrow, who just had season-ending injury this past year. So, the best thing that any team could do is protect their assets. So, that being said, this is what the Chiefs went and did, and this does affect the first round of the draft. I'm not going through the whole thing again because it broke me trying to create that draft board. So, this happened. The Baltimore Ravens have traded the best offensive lineman in the game, Orlando Brown. They traded him to the AFC reigning champion, Kansas City Chiefs, who already had themselves a really good time in free agency solidifying that line, because the argument can be made that they lost that Super Bowl to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they couldn't protect the quarterback because he was running for his life out there. Regardless of that, they went out there and they rectified the problem immediately. And they only did better with making this trade. Orlando Brown now joins the Kansas City Chiefs as they make another run at the Super Bowl. He'll be joining already there with Mike Remmers. And they just added Austin Blythe, Kyle Long, and Joe Thuney. Now, I don't know about you, but when I look at this, I see a stone wall. He's going to have forever and a day to get rid of that ball now. Tyreek Hill's going to have a field day. Now, all they need is a slightly decent running game. And if I know Andy Reid, he's going to have himself a run game. He's going to run it something like he did in Philadelphia. He likes to have running backs that can catch out of the backfield and can run between the tackles, but more than anything, be utilized in that passing game and be a somewhat okay blocker. He's looking in the second round to take a running back, and I think he'll find his guy. So the Chiefs are going to be a problem, as if they already weren't a problem to begin with, but they just got a little more dangerous because now no one's going to be able to reach Patrick Mahomes, barring injury. So, that being what it is, let's stick to the draft talk right quick. And this is what I came across. Now, Bucky Brooks, I love you, man. You're a great draft analyst, but you are losing your mind. Now, the only thing that seems feasible here is that third and that 12th pick. Assuming that nobody makes any trades. Assuming that no one makes any trades whatsoever, no one moves around, and nothing else happens, Trey Lance very well could end up being a San Francisco 49er because up to this point, they seem to be teetering between him and Mac Jones and Justin Fields. But I don't see Justin Fields falling to 15. Now, I can see him playing for the Patriots, but the only team I see willing to trade with the Patriots to put them into a position to pick up a Justin Fields will be the Atlanta Falcons, like I said in last week's episode. Now, here's the deal. Atlanta could very well keep that pick, which means that the Patriots will be looking into the second and third rounds to find a quarterback this year if they're going to continue to do so, because I have good information that I believe that Jimmy Garoppolo of the San Francisco 49ers will probably end up being a Patriot before the end of the draft. So, yeah, come Sunday, I think that he'll probably end up, being a Patriot again, but that's to be seen. So, Trey Lance could end up being a San Francisco 49er, but there's no way Justin Fields and Mac Jones fall that far in the draft. Because here's the deal. Think about it this way. There are two teams that still need a quarterback after the Jaguars, Jets, and 49ers pick. In that top 10, one of those teams is the Denver Broncos. There's no way they pass up on either Mac Jones or Justin Fields. It's not going to happen. They need a franchise quarterback. They're not sold on Drew Lock. So that number 12 pick makes sense because Philadelphia needs a wide receiver every bit as bad as they need a cornerback. So they're going to have to pick up the litter because I still have them picking either wide receiver or corner because the first corner is going off the board. That's going to be Patrick Surtain. The second, he's going to Dallas. I got that marked up. That's happening. The one that doesn't make any sense here is the Lions. While they do need a linebacker, they don't need to be getting one with the 7th pick. They need a wide receiver. They just got Jared Goff in that Matthew Stafford trade, that robbery that they pulled off. They need to go ahead and get him a weapon because they lost a lot of capital as far as receiving targets. They lost a lot in free agency. So Justin Fields could end up being a Patriot, just not at number 15. And there's no way, even if Mac Jones falls past number 12, if Mac Jones goes out of the top 10, Minnesota's going to be there at 14. They need a quarterback every bit as bad as anyone else does because there's no way they're going to be re-signing Kirk Cousins. That experiment has failed. Before he got there, remember, with a backup quarterback in Case Keenum, they were one step away from the Super Bowl. Ever since the superior quarterback got there, they've regressed way more since he arrived. Every year they've gotten worse. Adam Thielen did great. Diggs moved on to the Buffalo Bills, and he's had great success with Josh Allen. I tried to tell everybody before the trade happened that that's anybody that wants to pay Kirk Cousins, you're paying for empty numbers. Like the man has all the potential in the world to do something, but he leaves something to be desired. And Minnesota learned that the hard way. $84 million worth, and they got nothing for it. That's not my problem though. I still have Mac Jones falling in the top 10 along with Justin Fields. I just don't see any reality. I just don't see both of them getting past the top 10. And if one of them does get past top 10, it will be Mac Jones. But again, like I just said, he goes 14th. And in that case, he goes 14th to Minnesota. And even if he falls out past Minnesota, Washington is not starving for a quarterback. Not that bad. Because real recognize real. Have a real moment for you for a second. Mac Jones is a 3rd, 4th round talent being pumped as a 1st round talent because he played for Alabama. I'm not saying he can't throw the ball. I'm saying it's really easy to be a top rated quarterback, highly touted coming out of college into the pros when you've had the best receivers in sports. I mean, in college sports. I mean, you've had the best receivers. You had Jalen Waddle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've had Devontae Smith. You've had the best. And they're all going pro. And here's the deal. Alabama quarterbacks tend to struggle when they get into the league because they've been playing with the best so long, they don't realize that if they go high, they're going to a bad team. And you're going to struggle. Because a bad team you're there for a reason. Okay? If you go that high and you're going to a bad team, unless a good team decides they just want to come get you, but they don't have a reason to. There's no incentive for them to do so. Mac Jones, if he falls past 15, he's going into the 2nd round, maybe 3rd round. He'll fall where he's supposed to. But I don't see him coming out of the 10. I don't see him falling out of the top 10 at the moment. So that being what it is, again, this is ridiculous to me. This is 3.0 mock draft by Bucky Brooks. Miss me with all that, bro. You can miss me with that. Let's move on to basketball. Now, last week I teased this. Shaq, I don't want war with you, but we're going to fight at some point, bro. Understand something. Basketball is a game of nuance. And I'm looking at this team right here. You have 2 defensive liabilities, 2 guys who are going to butt heads over the last shot, and then there's you by yourself. You're going to be the odd man out, not getting enough touches. LeBron's got to make all the decisions from the powerful position. He's playing the point guard for real. Allen Iverson is a complete and utter defensive liability. That team he took to the 2000 finals to play against Kobe and Shaq's Lakers, that team was made so that it would hide any of the deficiencies that Allen Iverson had. He was not known as a defender, and he didn't play a whole lot of defense either. That's why he had Aaron McKee. That's why he had Eric Snow. That's why he had Tyrone Hill. That's why he had Theo Ratliff. All these players were great defenders. All he had to do was go out there and score. That was it. I know that because I watched that team very closely that year because Allen Iverson, he's from the DMV, and so am I. I mean, he's a hometown hero. home guy. So of course we want to follow him that close. Now, the other defensive liability is LeBron James. Considering that we're looking at these current photos, that's current LeBron James. LeBron James, as he's gotten older, has played a lot less defense. As a matter of fact, the last time we saw him play spectacular defense was when he got the block on Andre Iguodala in the finals with the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's the last time we saw him play spectacular defense. It's been some years. Not saying that he still can't play some, but age and nutrition is starting to catch up to that man. And, it's just not happening. So, could I construct a team to play against this team and actually win? Well, sure. But from a talent standpoint, I'm going to say this about this. Shaq, you're absolutely right. From a talent perspective only is this team a winner in a 7-game series. Otherwise, during the middle of a season, this team implodes on itself. That's too many egos, and there's only one basketball. The only player here, believe it or not, for as much flack as he catches in the media, LeBron has the least amount of ego here. He has the least amount of ego. And that's saying something. Okay? So, Shaq, you're the odd man out. You're probably only getting about 5 to 10 touches a game because you're going to have Kobe and Michael Jordan. Remember how you used to complain about Kobe not passing you the ball? Well, imagine being on a team with Kobe and Michael. You'll never touch that ball. And God forbid Iverson gets it. He's going to hold it for 20 seconds trying to cross everybody up. Nah. And LeBron, he don't really care if he get any points tonight because LeBron's out there to make, he's the orchestrator. LeBron is probably the only one who doesn't worry about anything because you guys are supposed to be that dominant. But this team implodes on itself 100%. So let me try to put a team together that could probably play this team 1-for-1 with today's current players only. I don't have anyone that can go against Kobe or Michael 1-on-1. So those two are going to be stand-ins. I'm going defense with those guys. So I'm going to put on Michael, I guess I'll put Jimmy Butler because I'm just thinking about defenders who can keep up with him. And on Kobe, I guess a healthy Klay Thompson because he can play because Klay Thompson is one of the best defenders in the league. And when he's hot, he can scorch it. I mean, the man put up 37 points in a single quarter before. So, I mean, who am I? So, yeah, those two play a 2 and your 3. I guess since Iverson is the shortest player here, he's playing your point guard, even though LeBron's playing from the 4. So, on him, I put Chris Paul. Chris Paul is one of the better defenders, even in his older age. It's really hard to get past him. Usually, I would have said Lonzo Ball, but I just don't think Lonzo would have the energy to keep up with a primed Allen Iverson because Allen Iverson would go at you all the doggone time. And honestly, the best I can come up with probably would be Chris Paul because Chris Paul is going to get a little dirty with him. He's going to bump him a little bit. He's going to play a little dirty every now and again, but that's what I need. So playing on LeBron James, that one is a little rough. Honestly, not really. I would just say Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has gone up against this man in the finals head-to-head, and Kevin has come out on top of him the last few times and just completely been dominant. I think that both of them are healthy. Kevin takes that 100% right now, period, point blank. And Shaq, we don't have anyone in the league right now that really resembles his game outside of Andre Drummond, and that's about as close as you're going to get. But I'm not going to put Andre Drummond on Shaq. I'm playing today's basketball game. I'm going to pull him out of the paint. You can give me Nikola Jokic because Nikola Jokic can do everything LeBron James can do. He's just bigger. So, yeah, I'm going to just pull Shaq out of the paint, and he's useless from there. There you go. Now, again, does that team beat them in 7 games? It really depends. Jimmy Butler is on Michael Jordan for defensive purposes only. So the problem here is you can't really stop Michael Jordan. You can only hope to contain him. And I think Jimmy can keep up with him, but he's not going to be able to stop him. I mean, Jordan's probably going to have an easy 30 points on him. But, I think Jimmy can stop him from dropping 60. That's not a prime Kobe right there. That's Kobe in his last finals appearance, but that's not a prime Kobe. So we're talking about today's a healthy Klay Thompson on the last championship version of Kobe Bryant. I think Klay stands a chance. Again, he's not going to stop him. He's going to contain him, but he's also going to get his own points too. Jimmy probably won't get too many points against Michael, period. Jimmy's just here for defensive purposes only. Again, I'll take Chris Paul over Allen Iverson in this matchup specifically because Allen Iverson was what 6 foot, $160 soaking wet. I think that Chris Paul could probably muscle him a little bit. He's going to give him a bump every now and again. I mean, Chris Paul isn't exactly the the cleanest point guard I've ever seen play in my life, but he ain't the dirtiest neither. But he's a pit bull on defense. And again, you pull Shaq out the paint, he ain't no good. LeBron can't play against Kevin healthy. And from a talent perspective, again, Shaq, I agree with you. You win this one. From a talent perspective specifically, in 7 games, you win. But that team implodes on itself. I don't think you make it in a 7-game series. I think that you guys pull off a 5-game series. No, a 6-game series. I think the other team takes it only because you guys can't make your mind up. Because also, if we're talking realistically, if you can afford this bench, if you can afford this starting lineup, you have no bench. There's no bench at all. So God forbid anyone gets hurt. So there you go. Keeping with basketball, we're gonna stick to this whole picking a team thing, and who wins this game right here? I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, Team Magic wins this in a 7-game series. And is it close? It can be, but not necessarily. So in the matchup here between LeBron and Magic, LeBron takes this because LeBron can do everything Magic can do and more. He was, Magic wasn't known for being a prolific scorer. He was a great orchestrator, which LeBron is also a great orchestrator. And even if you're going with the pictures here we have here, LeBron was a great orchestrator. He's been an orchestrator since he got into the game. So that is what it is. So 1-for-1, Magic loses to LeBron. 1-for-1, Kobe versus Michael. That's a stalemate, honestly, because Kobe literally mirrored everything Michael did. So they're just gonna go back and forth at each other. That's a stalemate. We're just gonna watch those two run it up. They're gonna play hard defense on each other. They're gonna try to get one up on each other. I think Michael wins that, but it's really just a stalemate. They're gonna go at it until someone falls over and dies, basically. At the center position, this is where it gets a little tricky, and this is where you start seeing the scale tilt a little bit toward Team Magic. Tim Duncan is probably one of the smartest players we've ever seen play the game at any position, period. The big fundamental, what we used to call him. And only thing about him is he was a little stiff. He wasn't the most he wasn't the most nimble all the time. Like, he wasn't able to keep up with everybody, but that's just his size. And that's unfortunate because you have to deal with the dream shake. And I can't see Tim Duncan falling for the dream shake more than once or twice in an entire 7-game series. But Hakeem could do more than Tim could, even at his best. He just moved better. He flowed better in the game. It wasn't just about the dream shake. They both shoot from range, but Hakeem was known for being able to get his teammates involved and everything. Tim could do the same thing, just not at the same rate. So I give that to Hakeem ever so slightly. It's not a huge margin. It's like a hair. But I got to give it to Kareem. Now, being realistic for the power forward position. From an offensive standpoint, Anthony Davis has the advantage against Kevin Garnett. From a defensive perspective, Anthony Davis should have it, but he doesn't have it. Kevin Garnett takes that defensive time. And if we're being real about it, we're talking about injury. Anthony Davis is never healthy enough to finish a full season, let alone a whole 7-game series. So, he just won a championship, but I'm disregarding that for the moment because he misses the majority of the season just to play that. I mean, he misses entirely too much time for my liking here. He's not consistent enough. He's not available on the court enough to play against someone like Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett would take him to the cleaners all day long. Tip goes to Kevin Garnett. And I've said this before, I don't think a prime Larry Bird and a prime Kevin Durant is a good matchup. I take Larry Bird all day long. Larry Bird was the best of the best. He was a pure bucket. Now, is Kevin a pure bucket? Absolutely. But there's a difference. There's just a difference, Kevin, and honestly, this can go either way. I knew Kevin growing up, and I've seen him play with my own 2 eyes. So I would love to say that Kevin has the advantage here, simply because he's 7 feet and can do everything Larry can do. But there's something about Larry's game that I've been watching forever. It just tells me that I just can't give that straight to Kevin. I mean, if anything, just to be fair, I'd say they go back and forth as a stalemate, just like Kobe and Jordan. But here, I'm still going to give the edge to Larry Bird. So In this matchup, I'm taking Team Magic all day long. You guys tell me what you think. Because honestly, that's a good one right there. We're going to keep it moving with basketball. And this one I found very interesting. Chauncey Billups, Mr. Big Shot himself, says here, I beat the Lakers 4-1. Okay? Allen Iverson lost to the Lakers 4-1. He lost to them 4-1. That's 2000 championship finals I was talking about earlier. He's an MVP, but I won the finals MVP. He lost twice in the first round in Denver. I elevated them to the conference finals. How am I not in the Hall of Fame? He makes this is a good argument right here, but it's hyperbolic. We're talking about a career resume. We're not talking about the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, I'm not knocking Chauncey Billups. He's one of my favorite players to ever watch because his game was not predicated on athleticism. His game was just great. I mean, I remember my friends used to make fun of him watching him shoot the ball in his later days, and he barely took an inch off the ground. Like his jump shot was like a set shot, like he was shooting free throws. But that was impressive to me because he wasn't wasting any motion. He was saving himself for the later parts of the game in case he got close. So I used to love watching Chauncey Billups play. That being said, when you take their careers, you take it out of that vacuum of just the finals or just one for one in these things, Allen Iverson was a centerpiece of a team. Chauncey Billups never was that. Okay? And yes, you were the finals MVP, but that was only in a single series. You weren't the league MVP. There's a difference. Okay? Yes, you took Denver to, the conference finals. You elevated them, sure. But you and Iverson are two very different players. I'm sure you will get into the Hall of Fame eventually. But no one in their right mind is going to pick you over Iverson if you're talking about, who gets in first. But you will get in eventually. This is not a very good comparison. If you want to be hyperbolic about it, you have a very good argument. You want to put it in a vacuum, sure, you got a really, really good argument. But in general, nah, bro. It's just not that simple. It's just not that simple, bro. So that has been another episode of Hot Takes, and like usual, I'm going to leave you with a hot take. Sorry if this episode's a little shorter than usual, but I'm excited about the draft coming Thursday, and I can't wait because I'm gonna be sitting in front of my TV with the popcorn and the water, and I'm gonna just be checking off my list because I'm hoping I got at least the first 10 picks right. I'm hoping. I really need the Patriots to go ahead and make that trade. But like I said, the hot take for this week is gonna be basketball related, and given that the playoffs are bound to start very, very soon, I'm gonna say this: the Brooklyn Nets big three, that's Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, have not played very much together on the court this season. They have next to no chemistry as far as we know on the court. We haven't seen them play all three together yet. We've seen two of them play together. We've seen them play, single games. So far, we've all just gotten, confirmation that Kyrie Irving cannot carry that team by himself. We already knew that walking into it because we saw what he did with Boston, and he just made that team worse. We know that James Harden is able to do it by himself. We saw what he did in Houston for the longest time. Even when he had, all-star teammates, it didn't change anything that he did. He was still dropping 50-point games regularly. Not saying that he can't do that in Brooklyn. He doesn't have to. But in my opinion, he is the keys to that car. He makes them go. Kevin just had a game the other night where he came off the bench and put up 33 points, and he called it exercise, so we know what Kevin can do. There's no doubt in my mind that James Harden and Kevin Durant could win this championship alone without Kyrie, and Kyrie and James Harden could probably push to the finals, maybe not win it, but push to the finals with no problem. But the three of them have not played together almost at all on the court this year, and my hot take is if they do not play in the next 7 to 11 games before the play-in tournament starts for the final spots in the playoffs, if they do not play on the floor together and get some chemistry, they're not making it out of the East, which makes Philadelphia the new favorite. And Philadelphia's on thin ice too, because I've been saying it for a little while now. Maybe not to you guys on the microphone, but I do believe that if Philadelphia does not fix what's going on with Ben Simmons, they're going to have to blow that up eventually. And you'd be crazy to pick Ben Simmons over, if you're Philadelphia, you'd be crazy to pick Ben Simmons and trade Joel Embiid. Because Joel Embiid is an MVP. He's an MVP. He may not win it this year because Steph Curry is having a ridiculous season, but Joel Embiid is ridiculous. Enough said. So the hot take for the week is, if the Brooklyn Nets do not get some chemistry before the playoffs start, they will not come out of the East, making Philadelphia the new favorites. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Hot Takes. See y'all next week, folks, for episode 20. Later.